We really wanted to like the new Samsung Galaxy Book6 Pros. I've got the 14 here, the 16's behind me. Now, when we first opened them up, we did like them. You see, they feel very premium. They look great. They have this natural feeling trackpad and they have long battery life. And they pretty much have no heat or fan noise. However, their price is a bit of a joke. At the time we made this video, our 14-inch was priced at $1,600. And the 16-inch, it starts at $1,700, but if you want the config we have, that'll be $1,900. What's worse is none of these models have the better Intel X GPU, which is the thing that makes Intel Series 3 Panther Lake so special, particularly when it's in thin and light laptops like these that don't have dedicated GPUs. Look, right now, realistically for most buyers of this kind of laptop, the MacBook Air, it's just a better choice. It may not have that pretty looking OLED display of the Samsungs, but the Air's display is good enough, and its M5 chip, it has much better graphics. Plus, the Air, and this is the icing on the cake, it is a hell of a lot cheaper. Heck, for the price of these laptops, you can buy a MacBook Pro 14. Now, if you are sticking to Windows, Lenovo's new Yoga Slim 7i Ultra is just better for a similar price. We will have our review out on that laptop very soon, so do get subscribed with the notification bell on so you just don't miss it. I'll list those plus some other alternatives down below this video. They'll also be on our website, by the way, under the recommended alternatives section. Now, I don't know how many people know that we have a section like that on our website, but it is useful in a situation like this. Anyway, since the main thing that we don't like about these laptops is really their price and that they don't have an X-chip variant, and that could certainly change, I'm going to hand over to Sierra for our full review. But first, very quick thanks to Best Buy. This is not a sponsored review, we don't do that on this channel, nor is it one that is trying to masquerade as unsponsored by using the favourite YouTuber term, partnered with. Sure, technically, in our case, Best Buy are partners. They did send these laptops in for review, but they didn't pay us for this video, they haven't seen the video before we published it, nor have they asked anything of us. With that said, over to you, Sierra.
Samsung Galaxy Book6 Pros look clean and modern in both the 14 and 16-inch versions, thanks to what I assume is an all-aluminum build. Its dark gray color is a bit boring for my taste, but it does have a nice brushed metal finish to it that makes it a bit more interesting and feel very premium. That finish also does a decent job of hiding fingerprints. Between the two sizes, I feel the 16-inch looks a little more special. They've kept it super thin and light with such a large screen, similar to what you get with a MacBook Air 15. The Galaxy Pro 16 even weighs around the same as that one, while only being slightly bigger and giving you a larger screen. Don't count out the 14-inch though, because it also weighs around the same as the Air 13 and gives you a larger screen as well. They also have similar build quality to the Airs, where they are absolutely excellent. Both the 14 and the 16-inch feel sturdy and only have a tiny amount of screen and deck flex. Their hinges are also stiff enough for using the touchscreen, but you may notice some movement on a super bumpy train. One of the only things I would change about the chassis is the fact that the plate for the keyboard and speakers is a darker color. It makes it look a bit less cohesive than I'd like. I would have rather seen the gray metal carried across the whole keyboard deck. Josh, on the other hand, liked the two-tone look and felt it made them look more unique. It's definitely subjective. Now let's talk about the displays. Both the 14 and 16-inch panels are advertised as AMOLED, but almost all OLED panels on laptops are using active matrix technology, which is what the AM stands for, so don't be fooled into thinking this is a fancier screen than normal. I will say it's still an attractive screen though, and the specs are nearly identical across both of them. 2880 by 1800 resolution with 120 Hz refresh rate and over 500 nits of brightness. That 2.8K resolution looks great on the 16-inch, but frankly stunning on the 14, where small text looks super crisp. Higher resolution screens do have a slight negative effect on battery life though, so keep that in mind. Some other positives on the display include the fact that both cover a wide color gamut, and we notice no screen door effect on either, which should make them enjoyable to look at. On the other hand, we detected some subtle PWM flickering on both screens at all brightness levels. Even though it's really hard for me to see with the naked eye, it would likely be noticeable to those who are sensitive to this rapid flickering effect. Alright, that's everything on the screen. Next, we'll talk about the keyboard, which is one of the biggest letdowns on both of these laptops. All three of us disliked it for different reasons. For me, I felt the keys felt low travel and mushy. Seth agreed with that and also found himself making a lot of typos as he is a touch typer. On top of that, Josh added that it has one of his biggest pet peeves on a keyboard where pressing the keys actually makes them go a bit deeper than the deck itself. This can feel a bit uncomfortable and awkward when typing, especially since they're so low travel in the first place. Some other cons on the keyboard are the fact that its arrow keys are pretty small and smushed, which can lead to mispresses, and its backlight isn't very bright either. The only positives on this keyboard are the fact that the layout is standard, and it does feature a fingerprint reader on the power button for Windows biometrics. On the complete flip side of that, though, I love the trackpad. Firstly, it's a smooth and accurate haptic one that is a joy to use. Unlike prior Samsung trackpads, I didn't experience any palm rejection issues on it, which was also nice. Seth did point out something interesting though, which is that the feedback on this trackpad is less than what you might get on other similar laptops. He wasn't always sure if he was clicking near the center of it, so he turned up the feedback on the 14 and then felt it was more responsive. Josh preferred this setting too. As far as ports go on these Galaxy Book Pros, the selection isn't bad, but it's not groundbreaking either. On the right side of the Book 6 Pro, we've got a USB-A 3.2 port, which does not specify its speed, and a headphone mic combo jack. On the left, we have an HDMI 2.1 port and two Thunderbolt 4 ports. It would have been nice to have an SD card reader at this price point of around $1,800 to $2,000, especially considering Samsung is advertising this as a machine for professionals, and it had a micro SD slot last year. A more consequential miss, in my opinion, is that we don't have a charging-capable port on both sides. For battery life, I was pretty pleased with both of these laptops lasting over 10 hours. The 16-inch with the larger battery lasted about an hour more, but both did well here, even beating out the Airs, which is impressive. The only laptop that beats the 16-inch is the XPS 14 with the Panther Lake X chip, which does come with other advantages like better integrated graphics than our configs of the Galaxy Book Pros. The Yoga Pro 7i, which has a dedicated GPU, does the worst here, but there is currently a bug on that model. Josh will go over it more in his review for that one. As far as performance tasks on battery, both the 14 and the 16-inch Samsung maintain their performance. Before we get into all the performance results, I just want to go over my experience actually using the laptop. It was plenty snappy for the things I and most people do, like browsing and office work. It also stayed super quiet and cool during lighter use. I never heard the fans at all. Now, let's talk results. Specifically, both of these laptops come with the Ultra 7 356H chip from Intel's Panther Lake H range. These H chips are 16 cores compared to the non-H 8-core versions available in the non-Pro Galaxy Books. These laptops would be considered good in terms of performance of all laptops, but they fall on the lower end of competitors. You can see this in Geekbench, which tests common performance tasks on the CPU. The performance of both chips is a little behind the higher tier Ultra 9 in the Yoga Pro 7i and MacBooks with the base M5 chip. Plus, they're way behind the MacBook Pro 14 with the M5 Pro 15-core CPU, which is totally available around the $2,100 mark. In terms of single-core, the Macs tend to dominate. We see this spread widen even further in Cinebench, which tests the processors when they're fully maxed out. The M5 Pro chip is way ahead in both single and multi-threaded here, and the Samsungs are near the bottom again, almost half as fast. They're on par with the XPS 14, which only feeds its CPU 25 watts. When we look at power draw, you'll see the Samsungs can burst high, but then pull around 30 to 35 watts on average, which is not making the most of these CPUs. Even so, laptops like the MacBook Air pull 20 watts less than the 16-inch Galaxy Book and still perform better. I just want to remind people that just because they're doing badly here doesn't mean they perform poorly. These laptops still offer what we'd tend to call good performance. On our website, bestlaptop.deals, we've made it easy to filter for all laptops with a certain performance tier. Back to the video. Let's talk graphics. These Ultra 7H chips do not have the more powerful integrated GPU you'd see in the X versions of these chips. These GPUs are simply labeled Intel Graphics, which consists of only 4 GPU cores compared to the 12 in the X7 chip. In Steel Nomad Lite, a gaming benchmark, these base Intel graphics do pretty terribly. The Arc B390 GPU is 3 times better, and a little above Apple's M5 10-core. Above that, we again see the M5 Pro chip with its 16-core GPU, and way above that, we have the Yoga Pro 7i, which has dedicated graphics instead of integrated graphics on its main chip. This means it's going to absolutely crush everyone else in our graphics tests, but we want to show you what else you can get around this price. Sure, the Yoga Pro 7i doesn't look or feel quite as special as these Samsungs, but even if you're a casual gamer, it's the best option on the list. On the other hand, the XPSs do really well here too, and they are much closer in style and quality to these Samsungs and MacBooks. Just to hammer the point home, here's how the Samsungs did in a low-resolution gaming test compared to some of these other ones. They're not even playable, well below 60 frames per second on average, and this is one of our easier games to run. For creative tasks, we struggled to get these laptops to run Puget's Photoshop benchmark at all. We finally got a score on the 16-inch, but it took a while, and it still did poorly. In Premiere Pro for video editing, they didn't complete in our 10-minute cutoff, which is twice what the default cutoff is in that test. I could show you more, but we don't recommend these for anything graphical. All the tests you've seen so far have been run on the laptop's best available performance mode, high performance. We liked the optimized mode better, though. You only see a minimal drop in performance for a significant drop in fan noise, and it even stays cooler to the touch. We felt that silent and quiet were both irrelevant because performance drops through the floor, and it was already very quiet and optimized for light use. The fact that even during a stress test like this one, it's only peaking at 42 decibels in that mode is pretty solid. Speakers are nice and they get loud, but they sound a bit forced at higher volumes. They're also lacking bass like most laptop speakers, not as phenomenal as the MacBooks or XPSs. For the Samsung ecosystem, Seth said the Samsung-specific apps like Notes worked well across devices, but he found the most use in Flow and QuickShare apps. Those ones are not exclusive to Galaxy laptops. You can put them on any Windows machine. Flow lets you control your phone from your desktop and also has a shared clipboard across devices, which is super handy. QuickShare is like Apple's AirDrop for your PC and phone. Here's how the 1080p webcam looks and sounds on the Book6 Pro 14 in ideal lighting conditions. Here's how the 1080p webcam looks and sounds on the Galaxy Book6 Pro 16 in ideal lighting conditions. Here's how the webcam looks and sounds on the Book6 Pro 14 in normal lighting in my office. Here's how the webcam looks and sounds on the 16-inch in normal lighting in my office. So, we did try Linux, and it didn't work off of our boot drive, and we found out the USB drive was dead. Thanks to our wonderful Linux backers on Patreon and YouTube, we had the time and resources to look into this further. I tried a new USB drive with both Fedora 43 and Fedora 44 Beta, and it didn't work out of the box. The closest we got was a gray Fedora homepage where the keyboard and trackpad weren't working other than the screen brightness buttons. Then, when we tried to turn the laptop off, it moved into the install screen, but the arrow and enter keys still weren't working, so we had to hold down the power button to force a reset. We think getting Linux to work on these Samsungs would be an uphill battle, even with more tinkering. Regarding upgradeability and maintenance, these laptops were surprisingly easy to open. Only 4 rubber feet you can pop off with 4 Phillips head screws underneath. For the 14-inch, you can replace the full-size Gen 4 SSD and the 66 watt-hour battery. On the 16-inch, we were pleasantly surprised by a whole additional full-size Gen 4 SSD slot on top of the drive it comes with, and it has a replaceable 77 watt-hour battery. Both have soldered Wi-Fi 7 cards, but at least you won't need to replace that in the lifespan of the laptop. These Samsungs are meant to be premium, business-oriented laptops with the Pro naming, but whether they have the performance you need depends on what you're doing. If you get one of the non-H chips, you'll get enough performance for basic tasks like web browsing and office work. If you're getting an H chip like we have, you'll get decent CPU performance for tasks like programming. If you can get a chip with an X at the beginning, you'll also get some solid graphics for some light gaming and creative work. Unfortunately, at their current pricing, we find these laptops a bit hard to recommend over alternatives like the XPSs and especially the MacBooks. Every laptop has trade-offs though, which is why you should check out our website bestlaptop.deals to weigh the pros and cons before deciding which one is right for you. We like these Samsungs, but we think they'll be much more competitive at around $300 to $400 off. So set a price drop notification on the site and we'll let you know when they drop down to that price. That's all we got for you today. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.